So thank you, and thank you, Bill, and thank you all for being here. Tonight we are going to have a little bit of fun and a little bit of excitement. But first, we're going to get some work done. And I want to just, if we have not we have not met virtually or in person. My name is Laura DeVoe. I am in one of the suburbs of Boston, and I'm very happy to be here. So I'm going to ask everybody, make sure you stay muted, and we will get started. I am excited about tonight. So we are going to talk about the American Jobs Plan Initiative and how we can help sell this thing. As Bill likes to say, it ain't going to sell itself. And it is going to be important that Bilby era is part of that discussion. We have a big reveal coming up immediately after that. And then, thanks to Jeannie, we have some transportation trivia. For all of you who are here tonight, you're all winners, and you will all be getting a very special prize, which Natalie will announce during the big reveal. So there you go. So as we have been talking about over the last few weeks, the American Jobs Plan Initiative is something that Bilby era is getting behind. While Bilby era as an organization is here really to promote the Department of Transportation and infrastructure related efforts there, because the American Jobs Plan is so interconnected with the DOT, we feel that it is important for our organization to be part of pushing the need for this plan. Remember that our messaging is going to be surrounding these particular areas, which are fix it and build it, well-paying jobs, equity and climate action, and the thing is paid for if we can actually tax the companies to pay for it, rather than all of us pay for it. As such, we are currently organizing educational webinars, which I'll talk about in a minute. We have some digital messaging, which is going to be augmented from our big announcement tonight, but also we need people to be in our Slack. If you have not joined our Slack, please do so. When I am done talking and I turn things over to Natalie, I will put the Slack invite up in the chat. We will be doing some effort through the Action Network on emails, which I will also talk about in a minute. And we have a variety of support and original content that helps you with this. Almost everyone on this call was a Pete Buttigieg supporter during the primary and continues to be a Buttigieg supporter. And we want people to understand that we need you to dig in deep and go back into the skills that you learned during the primary and expand that out to your network. This is not going to sell itself. I've already said it. You as a community are going to have to get out there and talk about what's relevant about this plan in your own state. Unlike the primary, where we were talking about a president for all of the country and who we want to lead the country, infrastructure has a little bit more local flavor. It matters to Bill. out in Portland, Oregon is going to be different than me in Newton, Massachusetts. Things that are important state by state, locality by locality. We have broadband where I'm at, but I know some of you don't. We have some things where I am that you don't, and you have some things that you have that I don't. And we have to be able to talk about it and why it matters to our communities. So relational organizing is going to be a big part of what we do moving forward. And we are currently working with Lisa Fleischman, who wrote Boots on the Ground. Many of you have already bought the book. Some of you have already been to some seminars that Lisa has run. But she was one of the primary lead volunteers in Iowa. And we are going to be having her do a special seminar for us that really talks about relational and making relational work around a cause, not a candidate. Okay. Second, we are talking about transportation financing. Several of you have asked for a webinar on financing and how financing actually works. What comes from the state versus what comes from the federal government, and how does it all kind of intersect, and how do states leverage this? So we are currently working on a couple of folks to speak on a upcoming webinar on transportation financing, and then finally we are working with a state representative to talk about how to navigate your state's transportation committee and what your state's transportation priorities are. How do you speak to it? How do you know what's going on? The reason we are doing this is because we believe deeply that we need to educate you to be the best volunteers that you can be. And as we've said in some of our onboarding videos, because this isn't a campaign and we're not trying to necessarily hide something from a competitor or challenger, we're recording all of this. So you don't have to feel like you have to be at everything physically, although I do love looking at your faces, okay? Tracy, we don't all have to be here all the time. And I'm getting my second vaccine on Friday. And the CDC just said I can go out and I can go dancing again. And I can go like licking on people. And I'm going to do that. All right. So I'm not going to necessarily be here at everything. All right. Well, okay. That's a lie. I'll probably be here hosting. But, you know, I know people are going to start to get their lives back. And we want you to have your lives back. So we also want you to know we have flexibility here. All right. But we do want you to be here whenever you can.
Laura, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Before you lick someone, do you give them a heads up?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Thank you. That's a question that we were getting in the chat. So
that's fine. I think it's important for people to know, and that will be in the video, that I will only consensually lick you. And I also started rubbing, like, instead of hugging people, some people still are afraid of hugging, I turn around and we just rub butts. But that's only if people are like really okay with it. All right.
Thank
All
you.
right. That's good. It's good for people to know. Some of the digital initiatives that we're going to be pushing forward include emails to representatives and senators. That comes through the Action Network. If you have not officially joined Build the Era, please make sure you do that, because if you are in a state, especially a state where we need more people who can reach out to people in that state, to representatives and senators who may not be necessarily big fans of the American Jobs Plan, we want you in the system so we know that you can send out those emails and share that email with people in your network who can further that information. We are also creating targeting messages for key red and purple states. And more of that information will be going out through Slack. Again, please join the Slack. And then finally, we are doing regular emails with updates to all of our members. We try very hard not to do an excessive amount of emailing, but whenever possible, we will be targeting emails to you. All right. So now is time, And I know many of you are just on the edge of your seats about our big reveal. And I am going to stop my share so that Natalie can share her screen.
Okay. Hi. Let's see. Okay, cool. So can you see my screen, the Bilby era branding guide? Okay, awesome. So for the past couple weeks, Bill, Kenzie, and I have been working on putting together a branding guide for Bilby era. So the big reveal today is that we're going to give you a sneak peek of that. Moving forward, we want to make a lot more content for Bilby era, and we want all of you to create content with us. So this branding guide is very much inspired by Pete's and Biden's branding guide, if you have seen those. So those were publicly available, and they just made it really easy for anyone who wanted to make content to just get started. So I'm going to give a quick intro to the branding guide and then hand it over to Kenzie. She designed an amazing logo for Bilby era. So she's going to share and talk about that. So that's why the kind of logo section is separate out right now. Because I don't want to give it away too soon. So I'll just get started explaining it. So something that is really important about Bilby era content is that we want it to feel approachable. So the things that we create, we want them to be easy for anyone to understand. You shouldn't feel like you need a technical background or background in transportation to interact with or understand our content. So I have listed some words in the blue box on the left that summarize our tone and some of the guiding themes that just kind of summarize how we view the brand. So basically we kind of boiled it down to a mix of down-to-earth simplicity and bright whimsy. But we have some other things listed here too, like energetic, urgent, simple, that kind of stuff. And I think a really good example of this is, so today Hazardous Matt has been getting a lot of attention, the Finza mascot. And I think that Hazardous Matt really kind of captures the sort of like whimsy that we really want to incorporate into Bilby era's brand. Hazardous materials is not necessarily something that, people spend a lot of time thinking about, or maybe doesn't always feel approachable. But a cute mascot like Hazardous Matt is like a fun way to do that. So, so I love that. I love seeing that was getting a lot of attention today. So.
Is it possible to enlarge the document?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So the font that we want to use in our content is Josephine, and this is a simple sans serif font. It's available in Adobe and Canva, so we figure that's probably what most of you will be creating in. And then on the next page, we have the color palettes. I think this is the more fun page. So we put together this color palette based on the concept of a blueprint. So if you've been to the Bilby era website, Julie designed that, and the background image is like this kind of blueprint type of thing. And so we took the colors from that, and we took that concept and then kind of built out from there. So we want the two blues on the left, the blueprint and broadband blue, are kind of our main colors that we want to use a lot in our content. And then the rest of the colors are, we took from just transportation related imagery. So like bike lane green, green energy, traffic cone, freight train. So those are just some fun colors that we put together. And then if you scroll down, then we just have some gradients that just would make nice backgrounds, just some suggested ideas. The one on the top left is taken from the Bilby era website. That's the background gradient. And then just some color pairing examples on the bottom to also help you get ideas when hopefully you all start creating content along with us. So that's the quick overview. So I'm going to hand it over to Mackenzie now, who's going to talk about the awesome logo.
Great. Thanks so much for sharing this. Yeah, we were really excited to bring this to you and to have this big reveal. So as far as the logo goes, we wanted something that would reflect just how dynamic transportation is, and also still harken to this idea of the blueprint, these grids, these lines. So let me start some screen sharing here. And so our base logo is just this really elegant, simple, eye-catching, linear, clean logo. And this is the business of our logo. This is what you'll see on icons and everything. And we're also updating other aspects of Bilby Era. This is one of the main things in our content. But like we said, we want it to be really dynamic and also kind of reflect transportation. So Bilby Era, we're really helping the DOT, and we really want to help past the American Jobs Plan and just follow along and, you know, make ourselves useful, as Pete always would say. And so we wanted to be able to be flexible for different contexts. So this is kind of like the suit, the basic suit, as Bill likes to say. But then we have some ties with the left space. So for example, we have a series of icons for different modes of transportation that we can use for different policy aspects and for different modes, for different areas. So like maybe Bill might want to use the boat and I might want to use the bike since I'm in Boston and, you know, I'm right in the middle of the city. We've got a scooter as well. And we've got a train, of course. So these are some of the base logos, and we're anticipating being able to use these on different elements of policy, different elements of the website, but also if you're making content for your area and, you know, ports are a really big part of your area, go on and use the boat. We really want this to be flexible. And also submit your ideas for things that could be kind of the tie, be the whimsy on top of the suit. We also have this, the summation of it is going to be this animated logo as well, which I hope loads because it's rather fun. Really showing the harmony of the way that all of these modes of transportation are interconnected and help us in our daily lives to get goods places, get people places, the true infrastructure, the true structures that help us live our daily lives and help get food to our table. So this is the big reveal in terms of the logo, and we really want it to be collaborative and tailored. Like we said, we have our base clean lines, and then we have our whimsical aspects on the left.
Awesome. Okay, so so that's the sneak peek of our branding guide and our logo. And more to come soon. This is just the sneak peek. So this will soon be available for you all to use. We're still kind of finishing it up. And we're really grateful for all of you who are here. So for everyone who's here tonight, you will later get an email with a link to some Bilby era Twitter banners and Zoom backgrounds that use our new branding guide and logo.
So can we see some, that's my syllabus for the class I'm teaching all the
Yes, we can see that.
You can see that. Why can't I get my thing? Who wants to take crisis management with Lord Bo? Okay. So can we get some big applause for Natalie, Mackenzie, and Bill, who's been the project manager on this? Let's just give everybody a round of like, dude, give me one of these. Yay. Give me one of these. Thank you so much. I'm super excited. And as Natalie said, everyone will get a link in their email tonight before I fall asleep with some stuff to download. I know Team Pete loves stickers, and so think of this as your virtual stickers, okay? So there you go. So I am absolutely thrilled, and one of the things that I truly hope happens as a result of this is we have folks who get as inspired to take this, create content that not only can they share digitally on the big interwebs, but also locally within your communities, and play with it so that it really lines up with what are the priorities in your city, your state, your municipality, and get it out there and use this. I am thrilled, and I cannot wait to dump it into the DMs of everyone I know who's working for Pete and make sure they know that this happens. So there you go. All right. So now I want to thank Jeannie, because Jeannie has outdone herself on trivia. And so the way we are going to do this is we're going to use the chat function. And people will put up their thoughts. You can hear my dog barking in the background. It's very exciting. She really wants dinner. Hold on a second. I'm going to mute myself because I need my husband to feed the dog.
While she's muting herself on that, I do want to just give another shout out to Kenzie and to Natalie. For their amazing work on putting everything that you saw together here. This is them. This is frankly the energy and the fantastic nature of Team Pete extending and doing what Pete taught us in continuing to be of service and helping build back better.
Absolutely. So there you go. And so now we're going to make sure you put it up in the chat. Your answers. So we're going to do categories. We're going to do a few categories here. And category 1 is fix it and build it. And so here's the first question. There are over 600,000 roads and bridges, 617,000 exactly. And what I love about Jeannie, when she makes up, she actually has sourcing within the trivia. This isn't she just found. So in the United States, how many are structurally deficient? And so how many are structurally deficient? A, 10,000, B, 30,000, C, 45,000, or D, 70,000. Please put your answers up in the chat. All right. The answer is, da-da-da-da. The answer is C, 45,000. And it's actually over 45,000 at 46,154, or 7.5% are deficient, over 42% are over 50 years old or beyond a typical design life. How many are, now you're asking follow-up questions. How many are structurally obsolete? Jeannie, Joe, Jeannie, help. I don't have an answer for that. We will write these down and make sure we get back to you. Okay. So there you go. Jeannie, what is the answer on that? Do you know how many are structurally deficient? Any idea? No, she has no idea. We'll have to come back to you on that.
You can find all this information on the ASCE report card. Infrastructure report card, which they do every state, every bridge, all the water features and pipelines, etc. And they do it every 4 years. So it's check out the grades.
So last weekend I drove over the Sagamore Bridge to Cape Cod and back, and I was stuck in a backup that was like 6 miles long. And I will say, there you go, Jonathan just dropped it in there. Thank you. That I literally was sitting in the backup and I was like mumbling, this is Pete's fault, right? Because All right, next question. What is the estimate of the backlog of bridge repairs? Speaking of bridges, what is the estimate of the backlog of bridge repairs? Also sources from the ASCE. Number one, A, the answer A, 125 billion, B, 200 billion, C, 500 billion, D, $1 trillion. D. All right. All of you who have answered the question A, 125 billion, you are correct.
Oh.
There you go. You all missed my Dr. Evil impression. $1 billion. All right. It's 125 billion. So it's not as awful as many of us think. There you go. All right. Third question. What is the estimate for the repair of our nation's roadways? A, $200 billion. B, $435 billion. C, $615 billion. Or D, $1 trillion, or a rounded out $1 trillion. Now just subtract 125 million. Yes, the answer is yes. All right, the answer, got them all in there? See. Oh, Mackenzie's like, I'm not sure. I'm going to just say that. The answer is 435 billion. B. The answer is B. Also 120 billion for system expansion, 105 billion for system enhancement, which includes safety enhancement, operational improvements, and environmental projects. Why is this important, Jeannie, for them to understand there's all that extra?
I'm giving them some optimism here that it's not $1 trillion. But yeah, there's all this, but it means that this is just for the repair, but there's also other things, safety improvements and other things that have to be done. It's a tall order.
It is a big order. It's a big order. We need big people to pay for it. All right. Next question. Of the 4 million miles of roadways, what proportion are in poor and mediocre condition? A, 25%, B, 35%, C, 45%, or D, 55%. Log in your answers. A lot of C's and D's. The answer is, Allie Mishke is the optimist with only 25%. And it's all in the Northeast. The answer is C, 45%. These are only public roads, right? Are these only public roads, Jeannie?
Yes.
All right. So there you go. 45%. That's the answer.
But that's almost half, people. So that's, I mean, that's a lot, when you think about half of your house. So.
For those of you like me who avoid math, 45% is almost 50. Just a reminder, when they came to me, when my college advisor said, you could major in journalism and not have to take math or a foreign language, I said, sign me up. Excellent. There you go. All right. Amy's laughing at my jokes. I like that. All right. So next up, we have Biden's American Jobs Plan includes which of the following? A, and I missed one. There's a C. There's a D here, and I didn't copy and paste it. So I will make sure I say it. A, 100 billion to modernize and build public schools. B, 115 billion to modernize highways and bridges. C, 85 billion to modernize existing transit and expanded systems. And D, which is not on here, all of the above. All right. A, schools. B, highways, bridges. C, existing transit. Or D, all of the above. D. Lots of D's out there. Yay! Good job, everybody. Unlike my cut and paste, you're all right. All right. Awesome. Good job. D. All right. Part 2. Category is well-paying jobs, innovation, and grow small businesses. First question. When comparing union jobs to non-union jobs, where do union workers fare better? A, access to health care. I love how Jeannie gives you all the information in case you need it. B, access to paid health care. C, wages. And again, D, for this reason, I think it just got cut off at the bottom, all of the above. Lots of D's, lots of D's. The answer is D, all the above. Good job, everybody. See, look for the union label.
Hey,
you are buying. Yes.
I wanted to just introduce one person. One of our guests today is Geraldine Anderson, Dr. Anderson, like you, Dr. DeVoe, and she is the director of Green Roads, so she knows everything, or so many things about sustainable construction for transportation projects. She runs an organization that talks specifically about that. So I'm so pleased she joined us today. Thanks, Geraldine.
Welcome, Doctor. Thank you for being here.
She could write the quiz, though, I'm sure.
She probably would do a much better job than my ability to copy and paste the quiz. So I appreciate that she's here.
I did put not doctor, but I put Councilmember Anderson on my list here today. So I'm interested to understand how I can help in my policy maker position, and love to be listening in today on this. Thank you, Jeannie.
City of Redmond is so lucky to have Geraldine Anderson.
I love when people jump in and become part of our community. I love this. All right, because we are all going to change the world together and fill potholes. All right.
1 mile at a time.
1 damn mile at a time. Okay, strap on that fast lane, people. We got shit to do. All right. How will the Biden American Jobs Plan put union building trade workers to work upgrading homes and businesses to save families money? All right. And again, for some reason, I keep missing the D. Upgrade homes through block grant programs. B, improves homes with the weatherization assistance program, which my house needs. C, extending and expanding home and commercial efficiency tax credits. And D, all of the above. D, all of the above. Yeah, people are just like, I'm just going to pick D. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is correct. The answer is D, all of the above. All right. Well done. We all need to upgrade our homes. All right. All right. How will the American Jobs Plan promote innovation for clean industry here at home? A, have Congress enable the manufacturers of those cars, ports, pumps, and clean materials here at home. B, develop programs that give small business access to credit, venture capital, and research and developmental dollars. C, funding for community-based small business incubators and innovation hubs to support the growth of entrepreneurship in communities of color and underserved communities. Or D, which again is not on the damn screen. I know what happened. I was cut and pasting and I was recycling. D, all of the above. Yes, Jonathan, there's a theme here. The theme is I can't copy and paste. Okay. All right. That's the theme.
Tracy.
This is my cut distributed content. The answer is fill in D. Okay. Thinking outside the slide.
Okay. And if anybody goes against Tracy in any of the trivia contests, know that she is pretty darn good at trivia.
Yeah. Tracy's a very smart person who knows more than, well, that's for sure. Okay. All the answers are correct. All the answers are correct. Okay. All right. Now I finally got D to working. That's why
We're an inclusive bunch.
Yes. How will the American Jobs Plan support rural and tribal communities? Notice when I say rural, it clearly sounds like a New Yorker saying rural because
Rural juror.
rural.
Rural juror.
Oh my God. If you don't know the reference, go binge 30 Rock. Okay, so rural. How will the American Jobs Plan support rural and tribal communities? Eliminate and restrict environmental regulations in rural areas and allow local pollutions and stream discharges. B, proposing $5 billion for a rural partnership program, including with tribes, and supports locally led planning and capacity building efforts. C, support rural areas in developing revenue generation by allowing them to sell off national parks and historic monuments. D, allow tribal and rural communities to build commercial resorts, mining, or timber sales on national park land. And this one, Jeannie, I just realized you didn't highlight the answers. So this one, I'm like, I don't have the answer. We're going to have to come back to this. Okay.
I was trying to throw you off. I think it's B. Proposing, okay. Yeah, that's it. Proposing $5 billion for rural partnership program, and yes. We just saw ads for that, or some rural partnership raise grants. So I think that's really good. The rest of them are silly. Restricting environmental regulations in rural areas to allow local pollutions and steering. That's silly. I was joking.
Patricia, A, C, and D. Patty, A, C, D were in Trump's plan. Yes. More casinos. That's right. My husband would like that. More casinos. All right. There you go. And he has, he has slot club play. It's a play. All right. Next, we have our equity and climate section. Which economic sector creates the greatest source of greenhouse gas emissions in the United States? A, industry. B, transportation. C, electric power generation. D, agriculture. If you all don't know the answer to this, you have not been watching Pete on every frickin' show. Okay. A. B, 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 B. Correct. 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 The answer is B. So much corn. Yes, exactly. Very good. Very good. The answer is B. All right. What was the impact of climate disaster for the U.S. for the decade of 2010 to 2019? A, 2,870 deaths. And again, I missed D for some reason. With 170.1 billion in damages. B, 3,045 deaths, 274 billion in damages. 3,091 deaths with 519 in damages. Or D, please pay attention, D, 5,217 deaths and $810.5 billion in damages and 119 disasters. And D is the answer, which goes to show how, and we've been joking, this is no joke. This is a reality, and this is not good. All right? And that's why this is so urgent.
And A is from 30 years ago, that decade. B is 20. C is the next decade. So you can see the progressive growth in deaths and damage and disaster.
Yes. Next question. What will cities, states, and organizations like reports need to achieve to stem global warming? A, commit to net zero greenhouse gases by the year 2050. B, create a climate action plan with near-term deadlines for meaningfully lowering greenhouse gas emissions. C, broadly expand zero-emission vehicles, ZEVs, including bus, transit, and trucks. And finally, D, all of the above. Yay, Laura, there's a D. Yes, thank you. The answer is D. And if you are a pod listener, I would highly recommend listening to today's The Daily. It was very good because it talks about how we need to get the U.S. back at the table. You know how Pete always used to say the United States is important, but it can't just be any U.S. It has to be a well-led U.S. Well, there was a comment that the whole show was about how do we get the U.S. back at the table and respected as it comes to climate. And it was very interesting. I would recommend everyone listen because there's aspects of the plan, the American Jobs Plan, which talk about baking in something that would become a law that would then require us to be able to get emissions down. And that would change the landscape as far as how other countries see us, because we change our government over every 4 years. And they're like, why are we going to get on board if you all are not going to kind of keep things going? So there you go. It's the daily podcast from the New York Times. Next up, paid for. How long will it take to pay for the American Jobs Plan? A, it will never get paid for. B, deficit spending. C, 5 years. D, 15 years. Answer is lots of people. D. The answer is D. 15 years. This is an important question. There are only 2 options. I did not mess this one up. Okay. Does the American Jobs Plan also rely on continuation of the FAST Act, which is otherwise known as gas tax revenues? A, yes, like the proposed GOP plan and the American Jobs Plan includes approximately $300 billion in revenues to be generated by continuing gas tax funding. Or B, no, revenues would be generated from revising the corporate tax rate, strengthening global minimum tax for multinational corporations, and tightening U.S. corporations for claiming tax havens as their residence. What's the answer, kids? The answer is B. Okay? Because B is the boss, and that's the way we're going to do things. All right. So there you go. I want to thank Jeannie. I want to thank everybody for your participation. I will make sure everybody has access to this with it fixed. So in case you want the trivia for other things, you have it. All right. And that way you have it and it'll be fun and you can use it to stump your neighbors and all that. And I want to thank you. And speaking of thanks, kudos and gratitude to all the wonderful folks from Bilby era. And I cannot tell you how much it has been a joy working along with everybody to get this thing started up. More is coming, more is always coming. But thank you for your time. And that is all she wrote. And can we have one more big round of applause for our amazing people, specifically Natalie and Mackenzie, who did this great work. So thank you guys.
Who brought us whimsy.
They brought us whimsy.
They brought us whimsy. For the uneducated on this topic, I am not Mr. Whimsy. And whimsy has to be brought to me, and I have to embrace it. And Kenzie and Natalie have helped me overcome my whimsy. We definitely want to open it up for questions, and I wanted to underscore, you know, I think for some people, I was talking to somebody this weekend who's involved in PDX Repeat in my group, and they were like, okay, so what are we going to do? What's our plan? And, you know, our plan now is really to use what you've learned, help you create content, let you create content to share with your sphere of influence. And for all of you with Team Pete, you know you have a sphere of influence, whether that be on social media or over the table at dinner, or when you're getting together with neighbors outside, as we're going to start to do again, for you to bring these points up and negate some of the weirdness that's out there as well. Things like there will be no more burgers under this plan, and you're going to be educated and knowledgeable and be able to refute these things. So that's what, you know, our next plan is to get you using those skills and engaging your friends and so on. So I will be quiet and open up for anyone have any questions or comments or thoughts or ideas.
I have a question. Where are we going to save all our content? Is this something we just save and post, and if people happen to see it, they borrow it, or do we have a shared file or something someplace?
Dr. DeVoe will jump in on this.
So,
oh, you're muted.
I am muted.
There you are.
Oh my God, I can't wait to walk into a meeting after all this is over and just start going. I'm sorry, I was muted. Anyway, we have a Google Drive right now. And so you will all have access to that through the Slack. So that's there. And then we are going to make it a priority to find something that's more publicly facing. But for right now, we have the Google Drive, and that will have to take care of things for right now. So that's that.
I would add too that we are going to, Christina, to align with that question, we're working on a calendar so that we're all on the same page each week. So we know sort of what we're going to focus on, whether it be good union paying jobs one week, equitable distribution of funds to all communities, you know, things like that. You'll have a calendar, an easy to flow, easy to read calendar, and be able to see what you can share and create. And we're going to share that out with all of you so you can follow along, so that we are consolidating our voices and our energy each week to educate folks. Because keep in mind, we're all in different parts of the country. You know, I'm out here in Oregon, Portland, Oregon, and my senators are all on board with this, but nearby states, I'm next to, you know, Nevada, I'm next to Arizona. States are going to need some pushing, and we're going to help there as well. So that's part of what you're going to do, is to help sway some of these soft Republicans, as we like to refer to them as. Other questions? Concerns? Anyone else? Is it? Yes.
Someone had a question. How many people is, for someone that's new to Bilby, how many people do we have, and what's our reach, and where, you know, how many states? Do we have any of those statistics?
Yeah. Right now in our database, we have close to 250 people in the database. I don't have the penetration of states handy, but I'm happy to share that. But we have about 250 people. I would like us to get to probably around 1,000 by the time we get to the fall, which will be an important aspect of this next phase of reaching out and being part of boosting the American Jobs Plan, because this could allow us to actually build our membership as well.
And just to someone's question, as far as the plan goes, I think the idea is to have it passed by Memorial Day, I believe, is sort of what I was hearing. I don't know how realistic that is, but that's the idea. So we'll work from that assumption and know that each week between now and then, we need to help amplify and boost the signal of the very good points of the American Jobs Plan. And as Laura said, and you've heard it over and over, this plan is very popular with American voters. maybe even more important is the signals we're getting from the groups like the American Mine Workers group. That may have been one of the most underreported but most important signals we've gotten in the history of this discussion, I'm going to say. The fact that they are on board with what they're seeing and that the track is there for jobs to be created for these workers. This flew under the radar. I don't know what else was in the news at the time, but that may have been one of the most important pieces of news late, that they have signaled their intention to support this, if this is indeed what Joe's plan is. So it's going to take work of all of us to boost that. I'm going to guess all of our friends, none of our friends know that. And that's what one of the people say. Well, some people are like, well, what about you mine workers? Well, we actually have an answer for that now. You know, we're working with them, we're communicating with them, they're on board, and I think that this is going to be really important. And Leslie mentions that Senator Manchin was instrumental in getting that. Part of our job is to thank people, to reach out on our whatever platforms we are and acknowledge and thank people as they do work like this. And so to that question again, what are we going to do? Again, we're going to help amplify and boost. And as Laura, as other people have noticed, groups that are involved in transportation are reaching out to us now. They're starting to see us. They're connecting with us. When they see, you know, our logo, they start seeing it everywhere. You will start seeing it everywhere. You're going to be part of a brand. You're going to be part of a movement that is driven by putting all of our energy into building back better.
I think we have time for one more question. I think Veronica's hand is up. Veronica, what do you got?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, guys. I'm zooming in from Alaska. And zoomed in a couple months ago and it was dark, but now look at this. It's so bright and sunny, and it's going to be dark and light until I think 10 now. I'm going hiking tonight. Anyway, hopefully on trails that will be helped by the American Jobs Plan. We have an organization up here called Build Back Better Alaska. We just started it. It's a nonprofit. And in the Build Back Better Alaska, there's a subcommittee called, it's infrastructure subcommittee that we will use the branding for Build the Era in there. I'm just in my mind trying to figure out how that works. So just wanted to let you all know that, and, we'll develop it here over the course of the next couple of weeks. But the other thing I wanted to I really like the calendar is going to be hugely helpful. When we get into the rural, we know rural. We have 300 communities in our state. Most of them are fewer than 250 people. Most of them are not connected by roads. We call it extreme rural here. We have a lot more in common with West Virginia than, and we know, and you all know that we have powerful member of this, Interior Appropriations. Lisa Murkowski is a key piece person, and Don Young is also a key in the House. So anyway, we may seem way far away, which we are, and small, which we are, and red, which we are, but I think we can be helpful and for other states, and we really appreciate all the help you give us.
Thank you, Veronica, and thank you for bringing up how you're going to use the logo and the branding, because I know there's some other groups out there. I know Jody's here, who's with Heartland, and there's all kinds of things going on with other states doing other great stuff. And if you're doing, continuing your organizing from Pete, that has gone on beyond the primary and beyond the general election, feel free to say, you know what, can I use this for this? Because we already have a group of people and maybe we can add this to this initiative. Yes. And we are going to be noodling on, after the American Jobs Plan, there's going to be more to do. I was looking at awareness campaigns and things like that. So I believe, and Jonathan and Jeannie may know this off the top of their head, but I believe November is Pedestrian Safety Awareness Week in November. It's either November or September. But I think we could be doing something around that on a national level to say, what can you do in your community to raise an understanding of where your community's at in terms of making sure that you have a safe environment for people to be pedestrians and that sort of thing. Or, you know, why is it that what does pedestrian safety look like in Alaska versus Arkansas, and so, or Arizona? So please know that there will be more to do. And this is now a time to help us boost our membership so that we have the bench strength to do more after the AJP decision is made. Okay.
You know, Veronica, I would add to that too, is that you mentioned, you said something to the effect of don't forget us and so on. And I would say we've taken our cue definitely from Pete, and in that rural is front and center in this for two reasons. One, they've been too often overlooked in spending. And B, it happens to be where Republican representatives are that we can communicate with. And it's going to be important to try to make this bipartisan. So just so you know, that's part and parcel to what we are and what we're doing.
Yeah. I have a follow-on, just a thought of the, you know, one of the things we're doing is sending letters to Pete and, you know, other members of the administration about our priorities and such and what we endorse and also personnel. If I wanted to copy you all on it, how could I do that? Or what's a good way of keeping you in the loop on the things that we're trying to do?
Send it to buildtheera@gmail.com.
Thank you.
No problem. One last question. I know that Christina asked, now that Win the Era is powering back up, are we going to be working with them? We cannot work with them depending on our tax status. But knowing that they are up and running and going to be doing more, it will allow for us to have a better idea of what some of their priorities are. And it also keeps people excited about candidates, and because this group is not necessarily about a candidate or candidates, at least now. And so it may have a little bit of a different ring to people's lives. So there you go. Okay. All right. And yes, some of us belong to both, and not only both, more, and even more so. So yes, people belong to all kinds of things. And there's people on this call who belong to this, who belong to Barnstormers, who belong to building bridges, who belong to Win the Era. So, I mean, there's people who literally have 16 Zoom meetings a week because of their extracurricular peak life. So there you go. All right. I have a hard stop because I have a 7 o'clock. And, but I want to thank everybody. And Bill, anything else for the good of the order?
No, we appreciate you folks being here, learning with us. We want your voice. We want your ideas. So stay in touch, and look for an email tonight from Dr. DeVoe and with some goodies. Yes. And there's my clock. I think you know it's that time. Well, thank you, folks.
Those of you who are meeting with me next, you have a separate Zoom meeting. So jump off this and jump on the new one.
Bye.